Hi everybody, good evening. 4 of you there I see. Say hello and let me know you're there. Let me say hello back, or at least in... Oh, I am telling myself I'm live. I better actually turn the volume down. I keep forgetting to do that. Hi everybody. Yeah, there you go. Talking to myself already. Right, so part 2 of this oil painting tonight. Bing, good evening to you. Thank you for joining. We are climbing to 8, which is good. Hopefully we can break the 30 again tonight. It would be good too. Wendy, good evening to you. Jean, good evening to you. Because of the holiday, I almost forgot it was Monday. Well, glad you could join us. William, good evening to you, sir. We are climbing to 11. Derek, good evening, sir. Nice to see you here. We'll wait a little while longer. We're a little bit ahead of time, which is all good. I see Glennis, good evening to you. Nice to see you. Yeah, I've got to stop saying nice to see you. I can't see any of you. But at least you know what I mean. Nice to see you here. That's good. John, good evening, mate. How are you? I'm fine. How are you, my man? Good to see you here. Oh, you can see the top of my head. Oh, that's not so good. In what way? When I lean forward like this across the... yes, you can, can't you? Oh, not so clever. Yeah, the top of my head. There's a little less up there than there was. I'm going to have to watch how far I lean forward. Never mind. It's good to see everybody. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 13 saying hello. The rest of you are keeping very quiet in the background. So if you fancy saying hi, let me know you're there. And I'd be happy just to say hello back. And that's all you need to do. That'd be great. But you don't have to do that at all if you'd rather be anonymous. Steve, good evening. Well, there's going to be some changes to the live streaming, which I will announce tonight. Cheers, John. Very kind, mate. I hope you're weathering the back to work thing and the schools. I suppose you're back in the mix of it all now. Steve, good evening to you, sir. Thanks for joining us. Right. Oh, no, I didn't want that. Copious amounts of paper at the ready. Right, okay, perhaps we better get started. Oh wow, are you going to post the progress on that, John, or are you just going to wait till the end or not post it at all? Be good to see it. Be fantastic, actually. I'd like to see that. Keith, good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for coming along and joining us. We are a few to wait to come in, but I'm sure they'll catch up with us. So, we got so far with this last week. I'm going to have a quick glug. I have this problem every time. Because I have nice amounts of ice in my glass, it condensates and picks up the coaster with it. So I think I did this a couple of times last week. Same thing. Anyway, there you go. Okay, so you basically, John, you're at work, prepared to work, but there's no one to teach. Is that what you're saying? Or are the parents keeping children away? Right they are. Okay, let's crack on. So, yes, we got so far. This is off of Sennen Cove, and it could be any set of rocks with the waves coming in. It just happens to be Sennen, and they got the lovely Cornish blue waters, absolutely stunning. But there are many places around the world that this could equally be. So fear not, it's just as a nice thing for people to enjoy and maybe have a go out near to where they live, if they live in, or happen to live by the coast, or indeed go on holiday somewhere and would like to just do the crashing waves. Now for tonight I'm going to be using quite a bit of Zest-It, which is my medium of choice. Now it's not for everybody, but it is for many, and to that end, you know, it's something that you can all pick up and all get hold of. Certainly, I think across more than just the UK. I know who supplies it in the UK to all the outlets, but I don't think that person supplies to the rest of the world. I may be wrong on that. So it's worth looking out for. But I'll put, tomorrow I'll put a little name or two of one or two bits and pieces in the details underneath this video when it goes live, or when it goes up on YouTube, so that you can actually refer to it. Before I get going in all of the areas down here, which is really just foam patterns, that's what I want to play around with today, just to fill these rocks in. All this was supposed to be suggesting rocks and stuff underneath the surface of the water, and I think we did that quite well. Yeah, I think we managed that quite well. I just want to pump up some of the whites on some of these areas up here before we carry on. Now what I will say is that, well, I will say a couple of things during the course of the evening, but one thing is on this one, if I finish this one really ahead of time, which I don't know how long it might take, then I'm quite prepared to sit here for another hour and just wallop out a little sunrise on that panel there, if anybody wants to remain with me and watch that. But if we're getting towards the hour and a half or something, then I probably won't do that. Okay, so let's just pop in now. I added a little bit of lemon yellow into my primary white, my titanium white, and I've got a little bit of Zest-It. It's not the cleanest Zest-It in the world, got to be honest with you, but it's clean enough to do the job I want it to do. I'm looking around the areas just to pump up the volume. Now I could actually put a lot through here, but if I do that, I'm going to take your eyes from here to here, and I don't want to do that either. So I'm purposely going to leave those whites out of it. They are, for my purposes, I think white enough. Just going to test the water and put a few taps in here and not overdo it. These are just like highlights anywhere else. They are little touches of pure light going into the water and suggest that beautiful, oh, something's just come through as a, I don't know what that is. A friend of mine would say that would be the phone then. And those train buffs among us will know exactly who I'm on about. But anyway, I'm just going to play around with some of these sort of initial bits of foam on here, and you start to see how I will use the same divisive method to create little foam trails in the water down in here. And that's the idea, is just to finish this off. I just didn't get enough time to do it justice last week, hence the plan was hatched to make it a part 2 tonight. Alright, have I missed anybody? Just started, just put if you're going in a message. Sean, glad you joined in, mate. And yeah, we all want to see this train when it's going, John, so don't keep it in the dark. Let us all enjoy and see it, because I think you're going to do a cracking job. Right, I'm going to use some of these to put out some little splashes along the rocks as this water is just bubbling all over the place down through here. It's moving at great pressure through these rocks as the force of the wave hits these smaller channels, so it forces the water very powerful and pushes it up and over in all sorts of manner and comes crashing through to the other side. Just one or two little bits up through there, like so. And I don't want to overdo any part of it up in this area. I'm just trying to keep this a little bit careful, on free of doing or overdoing it, as I said just then. I'm just going to come in and just tap in. And again, I don't want to do all my foam patterns down here. You can see they're quite grey down here, so they're going to have a different value altogether. I need to save these brilliant, beautiful whites for certain areas within okay, what's for dinner, John? I'll be round later. Anyway, yes, sorry, I digress. I'm going to leave that there because I'm going to get some other values in. So I want to come down through here with one or two of them too. Now, I'm working with quite a bit of fluid. Got to be said, the rigger will not function that well with too thick a paint in it. It needs to have a bit of fluidity in the paint to allow it to come off of the brush quite easily in this form. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with a sticky, daubly mess, and it will not be what you seek. So I'm just refining some of these initial marks that I put on the other day in here, just allowing that to bubble and do all it wants to do. I hope so anyway. Going to increase the light in some of this, but not all of it. Tap some of that off, put some there. Some's catching the light, some is not. And that goes off over to the back. And then comes through and down like so. Little rivulets of bright water over the top of the rivulets of pale blue or pale water. Something like that. Just finding it out, just making it a lot of detail. Here we started doing some last week, but we never got to finish it. So I'm going to come down here and suggest the bubbles and cauldron effect continuing. So I'm scribbling. You can see I'm scribbling with a brush, like so. And that hopefully will create the density. If you were a wildlife painter, you would be creating dark layers, lighter still, and the top highlights to the fur. And that gives rise to all the density of the fur of the animal that you're portraying. Well, this is no different. I'm trying to create a density of water in different levels of light, so you can see down through the initial layer and onto and into what is down below. And also don't forget, some of it is in shadow. Now this side here is in shade because of all this on top. This is creating a shadow on other aspects of the water. So all of these things are in my mind as I'm painting away. The reference, I'm looking at the reference, but I'm not trying to paint from the reference in the sense of, what was that? Okay, thanks John. I'll have a look at that later. Yes, so as I was saying, that the reference is there as my guidance. I am not worried if I put a mark somewhere not exactly as the photograph suggests. I am merely using it as a basis for the whole of the painting, and everything else will happen, I hope, he says. I'm just going to come in. I'm still playing around with this light at the moment. Lots of light bubbling over and in and out and doing all sorts of swirly nice things as it's coming crashing through. Little touches of yellow in there. You can see the yellow against some of the blues when you see them in isolation. They become a little bit more evident. Okay, and one or two up through here. I'm going to put some more white together. Actually, I'm running down, so I'm going to put some more white together here. Tap more, and I mean the merest tap. That's too much. So I'm going to come back with a bit more fluid, add a lot more white to that where it is, or happens to be a little bit too much, and we'll come back in. Right, well, you're all making me feel hungry. Why are you all suddenly eating your dinner? Come on. At least you could have sent me round a Red Cross parcel so that I could be eating too as I'm munching and painting at the same time. Now that would be really nice. Right, I'm jesting, I'm joking. Before anyone collars the postman or a lovely big St. Bernard dog and straps a parcel to it. Dear Lord, rubbish I come out and say. So I'm just putting in, this is the fun part, this is sort of tracery of the sort of jewels in the water coming down and crashing through, building up the layers, building up the realism if you can. You don't want to do every piece, you need to allow some of them to remain behind so that you've got bits over bits. You get ribbons, lovely ribbons, you get a little cascade like that, and one or two ribbons that join up as they come down, because they're coming down with such force that they actually join together and they don't part. And it's really worth, when you're at the sea, when you've got rocks near you, and we have some around our coastline, some of them are not naturally formed as these ones are. Some of them have been placed by the council in an effort to save our beaches, and they are natural breakwaters other than the old groin system that used to be used for millennia before, but they are rocks, and they're still sort of haphazardly placed, and therefore worth watching as powerful waves come in on them and see how the water breaks and how it sort of cascades down over the faces of rocks and eliminates the shade or colour of the rock as it does in through here, and of course is thin in other places where the rock is still wholly visible. And you know, you get to see all these little traceries and the way that the water works, and all these little observations really will help you long term in your own painting efforts. That's a must. You know, I say it all the time that observation is key, and knowledge, of course, we all know is king. And the more you observe, the more you see, the more you understand, then the better your work will become, your drawings and understanding will come. That little bit of effort you need in making a realistic representation of a drawing is born not just of the ability to draw, but the understanding of the form of which you're drawing. The more you know about it, the easier it becomes. How many people do you actually know out there who maybe draw horses but happen to be horse riders and have ridden horses all their lives? They naturally gravitate to the ability to draw them well because they understand them. And if you were painting, you know, anything, it doesn't matter. If you were painting like John is painting a train at the moment. John's got an affinity with trains, as have I. And, you know, he looks at them and he models them and he goes to see them. And the ability to paint one is therefore, the half the battle has already been won because he understands them. Well, I think he does. I'm sure you do, John, don't you? Where are we? Luke, good evening to you. Teresa, good evening to you. I don't know, whatever's on the menu, John, just let me know, and I will make it a cold buffet, so it'll take me a few hours to get up to you. Anyway, I digress, and thank you. Right, I'm just using this powerful light white over some of these areas here. This is truly where it really comes out, because you can put a little bit in there, which is just coming out far enough from the rock to catch that light. But then you get a little nubble there, on there, and a little bubble there. And then you get some splash, 1 or 2 in, and I'm just going to reinforce those like so. A little stronger white light on them. And you get all this splashing going on, really nice. Coming in here and reinforce the dark edge of that rock there with some powerful white foaming at the back of it and away. Over there, and that's going to go off like so, and all the way out to sea from back here. So you've got all this water that's poured in like so. Lots of it. Little green and little white foam marks through here. I do hope that I get this done in the allotted time. Actually, it seems to be taking forever just to put all this detail in. I do hope we don't end up having to go for a part 3. I'm sure that won't happen, but if we do, then I'll probably just finish it in my time and show you the end result in another stream. Talking of streams, now I did indicate this to everybody the other day, and oh, lucky dog. Anyway, I did indicate the other day about things changing on the stream, and I had indicated that it might be a case that I will be reducing my weekly streams to just 1 each week instead of the 2. Now, the reasons for that was I didn't sort of make that a definite statement last time out, because I said to you, if you remember, that I was having a meeting with somebody, albeit a Zoom meeting with somebody, a planning meeting, and seeing how and where I took all my online operations moving forward. Nothing stops, nothing's changing in that regard. I've put way too much effort into everything that I've done and do and will continue to do. It's just how best to do what I'm doing, but better. That's the plan. I'm going to put a little drop or 2 down through here, just cascading over the top of that rock. It's not actually in the picture, but it's in my one. I think that works quite nicely. Crash that down through there. And so, yes, so this morning I had that meeting with this person, and a lot of things were discussed about how I might improve things moving forward. And I did suggest that I had this thought about reducing down the online YouTube workflow a little bit, just to accommodate extra work that I would like to put into my patrons. And I felt that, you know, that these guys, my patrons, are help funding my efforts as an online art teacher, and help funding the amount of time that I need to do in here. So I felt that I really wanted to give them a little bit more service, and I think that was fair. And I think 2 or 3 of you on here totally agree with that. That you know, patrons are sort of very, very instrumental in the ongoing finances and the ability, I should say, it's not a case of huge finance, it's a case of having the ability to continue doing what I'm doing in the manner that I'm doing it. And I want to give so much out to so many people. I mean, essentially, those who know me well will know that I just love to teach. I love to get to teach so many more people. And for many, many years I've been doing lectures around the country with art companies. I used to do all the Islington show with Liquitex, and I've demonstrated for Staedtler and Daler and even Windsor. I've written articles for countless magazines, and I'm actually writing my 3rd book at the moment. And all of these things are great. That's fantastic. And I've been teaching regularly in my gallery in Hythe since 2011, and I have had 4 classes every week, and that is interspersed with lots of workshops and demo days, very much like this, really, just a demo day where people come along and that they watch and ask questions and all these things. And I've really thoroughly enjoyed that. But lockdown has caused me to think or rethink how I earn my living as an artist. Now, fortunately, we are at the moment, and fingers well crossed, that we are not back in any lockdown situation, although I do hear that some rises have been noted in the country, especially among young people. I hope that is just a little blip and nothing more serious than that. But it does make you wonder, and I've had to sort of reinvent what I did. Now, during lockdown, of course, I did reinvent many things that I was doing. And one of them is that I had already, fortunately, started my YouTube channel. Sorry about all this history if I'm boring people. I do hopefully not, but I'm just rambling on. But yes, I sort of did a lot, and I created I had a YouTube channel since 2009, believe it or not, and did very little with it. In fact, the only things that are really going, I did one speeded up film about 8 or 9 years ago when I first sort of got into it. And the only other things that have gone onto it are those from a company I used to film for. I used to do art videos for a company called Art Tutor. Some of you may even know that company. It's a great company. Lovely people that are running it. And so yeah, they were putting little cameo bits on my site so that it would draw people to their site. And there was no problem with that. But I realised that I actually hadn't done much with my channel, and I felt that I needed to do more. So I set about doing one video every week from there on in, and that's what I was doing. And I loved it because I had this idea that I could reach so many more people. I enjoy teaching about 30 odd people every week, pretty much. It's gone down a little bit because of lockdown, but essentially it's been about 30 odd people each week, and I love that. It's fantastic to be able to engage with people, and I get a lot from it, and I'm sure as much as they do. And to that end, it's all been hunky-dory, fantastic, loved it. But I can only reach so many people in a week. I can only physically teach so many people each week, and I wanted to get to reach more people and help more people. And at the time, I wasn't really that bothered about whether I got tons of money for it or whether I didn't. I just knew that I could actually start talking to other people and reaching other people around the world. So that's what I set out to do. And I looked at the money side of things with YouTube, and anybody who knows how much you earn from YouTube, unless you have some staggering 1 million plus follower subscriber channel, you don't really earn very much. I think you need, about 1,000 hours, no, that's wrong, 6,000 minutes watched for $1. So it's not going to allow me to retire quite this week. But I also knew that if I worked hard, then that too would come in time, and I would enjoy the benefits and the fruits of the labour. But in the short term, I really just wanted to get out there and start creating content and learning how to film and edit that content. And please stop me if anyone's getting a bit fed up with this conversation. So I'm just rambling while I'm doing this, but I don't know if I'm boring you or not. We've got 21 people. If I see that number go down to about 5, I realise that I've bored you all to death. But anyway, so yeah, I really sort of set about it, and I made myself, didn't matter how tired or what I still had to learn, I still created one video every Friday without fail that included Christmas days or wherever it was through Christmas and the New Year. I just really enjoyed that aspect of what I was doing. I'm just going to really chomp that down through there. There's like a little bit of white water really crashing through. And yeah, so anyway, where was I? Rambling. And so the channel was really born at that point, and that was June, end of June actually, in 2019, when I made that conscious decision to really push the boat out and do an awful lot more work when it comes to online presence. I had an Instagram too, believe it or not, and years ago I actually walloped that up to about 7,500 followers on Instagram, and I got quite bored with it in the end, and I didn't do much more with it and let it dwindle. And I noticed that so many followers were just coming off. Well, actually I've learned since that that wasn't anything to do with the fact that I wasn't doing anything. It was more for the fact that most of those are what they call bots, and they are cleaned out by the Instagram algorithms, and therefore it keeps everything nice and safe. So that's what that is. If any of you wonder why you may have one that's losing out, that's probably why. It's got nothing to do with your ability and your channel in that regard. Anyway, I digress. More wave, more foam, please. Just playing around, drawing. And I'm going to change this colour down. I'm going to come in with a bit more white, but this time that white's going to have ever such a touch of, what does it want a touch of? A little bit of cobalt blue. A little bit of cobalt blue. And touch a little bit of orange to that, not much. Not, that's all skinned over. Come on, just a little bit. That's way too much. I'm going to do that again. There we go. I think that's somewhere a little bit offish, a little warmer, a little cooler maybe. And that's the two colours I'm going to bounce around with. Anyway, sorry, where I was. Yes. Why is that, John? Because you have a very, very strong channel. I'm going to put this colour in here. That's still a little bit on the light side. I'm going to come with a bit more blue and a little bit of orange in that. Knock it down a little bit more and just tap that back, get the excess off there. And yeah, I'm just going to start looking at these foam patterns now. These little areas, eddies of water that have, you can see, I hope that they are racing back underneath the oncoming wave. So these are ones, these foam patterns, all of this lot here are quite literally where the water's already crashed in on this set of rocks, is now sort of rolled back out underneath this one, and it's left its own little area of sort of foamy patterns in the water. And hopefully this won't take too long. Depends how much jabbering on I do. But hopefully it shouldn't take too long. But remember what I said, the lovely foam patterns are not normally sharp angles. They can be very tight elliptics, but they will not have tight angles. They won't sort of go like that sort of thing. You'll have lovely soft edges and forms to them. And I'm just jerking the brush around a little bit just to give me some direction with some of them, and then I come back in and form them up a little bit more like that. I forget where I was now. Yes, there's a long-winded explanation as to why I'm changing things on my Patreon or on my YouTube channel, but I love my YouTube channel and I love my Patreon, and both of them have become extremely fixed in my week-to-week, day-to-day life and what I create, what I do with my time. It's never more than a few minutes away from my thinking somewhere in some form or another, and that's important. And sort of I've noticed that I sort of need more and more time to be able to do all the things that I would like to achieve. And every day I sort of do something and I think, oh, I really would like to do that. I would like to show that to students. I would like to bring that into my weekly this or doing something of that, and it would be fantastic. It's just not possible all the time because time is my enemy. I used to think other things were my enemy, but I think time is my greatest enemy, and I think because of it I struggle to be able to realistically do half of what I want to do in the manner that I would really love to do it. There's going to be a little, that's getting close to the water's edge, so I'm going to bring that along there just to suggest that little bit of bubbling off the back here, just catching that on that edge. Sorry, I digressed again. Very interrupted little chat. But anyway, I was saying that it's all about time more than anything else. I don't want to stop doing anything if I can manage to keep it going. But unfortunately, I can only do so much in a week online, in the same way as I can only physically teach so many people if I maintained a presence only in my gallery, teaching physically, and students that attend my classes in that fashion. And that really, to increase that, was why I really pushed very hard to go online with much of what I was doing, because I just knew that if I could embrace camera work, I mean, I was already quite happy about talking to people on camera. I've been doing it for companies for several years, so it doesn't really worry me. I can talk to crowds of people in huge, great venues and do a painting for them, or in the smallest of small groups and do the same thing. None of that worries me. I'm never fazed by any of that. But I don't understand how always to work a camera. But I've learned this last year has been absolutely phenomenal in the ways of understanding and learning. So I'm going to have a real old mark through there. And yes, so I've studied hard and I've learned much, and I've enjoyed the friendship of many more people than I knew a year ago. And some of us are all working to doing the same sort of things. We are artists, we are reinvented ourselves, all these things, and we come into contact through the web, of course, and start talking, and yeah, friendships form, and it is absolutely beautiful. Love it. And so, in about the longest, windiest way that I could find, I'm really sort of just changing a little bit of what I do. So what will happen now, and if I get back to rambling, that'll be fine, but at least I'm going to get out and say what I'm doing. So as of now, I will be just doing one weekly stream on my YouTube, and that will always be now on a Monday evening, and I will then or I could actually make it a Friday evening. I don't know. I mean, you guys out there right now are all my regulars, and I know some of you can make some nights and some can't make others. So I would love to take a poll from all of you that are watching. There's 22 of you at the moment. I know sometimes we have a lot more, but it would be nice to know from the majority of you whether one night over another night will be better. But it's going to have to be the dropping of one of them in favour of the other, and so then I can go and put that other night to my patrons and allow them to have a little bit more from me personally, in the form of their own stream just for them, and that would be fantastic. Give them that extra incentive to come on board and join my Patreon, and yeah, get more involved with that. So that's what the thinking is about. I hope many of you who have come to enjoy my weekly streams will not be too upset with the changes that I've planned. I hope that you would understand why I have created the change or making that decision. It hasn't been made lightly, because I hate change myself. I get used to doing something and then I change it, and it's sort of, you have to make those extra adjustments. And you know, it's the same with you guys. A lot of you have become sort of very, very loyal and very good at sort of turning up at 7 o'clock on a Monday and a Friday, and now that sort of, for one or the other, is going to suddenly change. And I was very wary about upsetting anybody by doing that, but I think for me personally, it has to be done, and it has to be done because I need that time to devote to my Patreon members moving forward. Not just for the existing ones, but to draw in new ones. Of course, it's not, you know, it's not all about the ones that I've got right now. Of course it is, to a greater degree, but it's all about creating sufficient interest for others and new ones to come along and want to get involved with it. So that's partly my thinking. Oh, James, good evening, mate. Just see you crept in there. Nice to see you. Yeah, well, I understand that, mate, but hopefully work's going okay, and it's good to see you. And yeah, good to see you, mate. And Glennis, okay, thank you for that. Keith, yes, in answer to your question there, very good one, I will alternate between oil and watercolour. And probably the same sort of thing for my patrons on the other one. I will alternate between doing an oil and a watercolour for those guys too. So hopefully that will work. And if it doesn't, then I can always come back and resume the other stream into my YouTube. But I want to be able to give it a go, I think. I think that's probably what I'm saying. I want to give it a try, see what happens, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, we will go back to where we are now. Right, I am still playing around. You can see how these are starting to build up now. Little taps here, little marks there, just to build up the foam in these lovely little trails that they create. And there's no exactness to any one of them. They are some large, some small, some wider, some cooler, some almost not there, and some very, very thick ones. And it's all I'm doing is just playing around with some of that and trying to create a surface. Water, believe it or not, is a surface. We should all know that. It is a surface. The fact that you can see through that surface matters not. It's still a surface. And what we're seeing is physical matter that can't go into the surface. It sits on top of the surface. So that's what we're painting. I'm merely looking through the water to see underneath the surface, but I'm actually looking and painting objects that are on top of the water and therefore on the surface. Trying to watch and make sure that they run in a certain way with the flow of the water. And some are just around the edges of these rocks. I may as well, I didn't do it last week, I should have done, I think, but not to worry. Just going to come in with a few darks right now. Some oranges and maybe some ultramarine blue in there, just to give me some dark shapes to the rocks in the foreground. These are just going to be really quickly and quite crudely put in. They will bring very little to the painting at this stage, other than the fact a bit of presence and being there and a reason why the water's crashing back, but I can refine them later on and add to any of the lights and darks that those rocks may or may not have. A little bit of water in there as well, which I didn't notice before. But never mind. If it's not quite the same, it will not matter. Well, if anybody is okay with it, I'd like to keep the YouTube to Monday night. I think that for many people, like I know John struggles with a Friday now, don't you, John? I think I got that right. And I think James and others sort of, they're working and their nights are a little bit difficult anyway to get back from wherever their workplace is. But I would like to try and keep it, if I could, to a Monday. And that way I then, because when I put out my video on a Friday, then I can, I have sort of 2 ends of the week covered on my YouTube. And it means to say that, you know, people that would normally watch on Friday could always quite happily watch my latest video that has been released generally on my channel. So that might work for some. I hope it can. And the option I have for my patrons, and I think some of them are on here tonight, certainly I know 2 are, 3 are, and from that point of view I could make the Patreon version of these streams. That's indeed if you want one, but I hope you do. I really hope you do. But the Patreon stream could be either a Thursday or a Friday, depending what's best for everybody out there. I really don't mind at this point. I'm just literally sounding all you guys out to see what really works for you. Because for me, as a Patreon evening, I can do either or. I can do one or the other. Can't do both, but I can do one or the other quite happily. A little bit of red into that. Put a little bit of dark into some of those. Not quite that warm. Yeah, I think Monday, Luke. I think that for me works well. I'm sorry that I've sort of gone so far, but I've had to sort of change things a little bit and moving forward. But I hope you all understand why and my reasoning behind it. I love doing these streams, by the way. I've got to say they are a lot of fun because I get to paint stuff, and whether you're listening to me or not, really, I'm painting away and I'm enjoying what I do. So to me, that's extremely important as an artist, that I paint stuff. I get to paint what I want to paint. You know, I try and think of something different for you guys to watch. Don't try and keep it all the same, but essentially within a certain area, I do get to paint what I want, and I love that. I'm going to put in a few darks under these rocks here that's suggesting that they're coming near the surface. Then that little blue haze is light and water. So that was the idea of putting those in. Nice straight edge there, which gives rise to being a rock. And so if anyone is watching this stream now who watches it regularly but keeps quite quiet in the background, no problem with that. You know I'm going to say next, but if you want to sort of voice an opinion a little bit on what I've just been saying, then please sort of utter some sentences and let me hear what your thoughts are too. Just going to break that out there, a little bit of dark in there, and that can go out into that channel there, just gently going under the water, but that just lifts that into that point. So quite like that. And then going to a little bit through there. Just subtly increasing what I can see under the water by just putting a little bit of fresher pigment on one or two of the marks already in place, and then just running them out with my fingers so they don't become too much. I'm going to suggest this is a bit of a flat plate here. I think that's what I'm looking at. So I'm just going to put that round there, cool that off through there, a little bit of cobalt in there. I'm just going to literally finger paint that around and make that disappear. Now if that's wet paint and I want to put some white over it, it's dry enough in a sense for me to be able to do that. I'm going to put that brush down so I don't make a big mess with it, and I'm going to have a glug. That's good. Right. So Jean, if you're still on the side, do you have a thought on Thursday or Friday? Wendy, Teresa, I don't think I've missed any more of you that are on there as patrons, but yeah, let me know what you think. I don't mind. Right, that's that bubbly bit that I worked out. Quite like that. Just one or two as it runs back under force. Giving a little light trail behind it. I would have said Judy, but I haven't seen Judy's name come up tonight, so I'm guessing she's not here tonight. See the comment above. Sorry, have you said already, Wendy? I didn't see it. I've lost the top of this. I can't see it. I'll have to go back later because, oh, sounds very fair to me, Paul. Any evening will be good for me, both Patreon and YouTube. Oh, not Tuesday though, in case choir starts up again. No, that's cool. Tuesday for me. I don't do anything on a Tuesday because it's the one night that in normal circumstances I get to go over to see my lovely little granddaughter every so often, so I don't want to do anything that might prejudice me going over there. And I'm going to bring up a bit of water around here, so I'm going to bring a nice little bit of flow, a little bit of blue into that as well, a little bit of dark which I've missed. I'm going to use the rock colour in here. I'm just going to tap in sort of that dark area in here, bit of brown, bit of ultramarine blue, a bit more ultramarine blue than that, and just quite dark, and then we can move some light colours over it, so we're looking at the dark colours which are the rock surfaces underneath, and then we can come in with a little bit of water, suggested water and foam that will give rise to what we're doing. Let's bring the side of that rock down through there. Thank you, Jean, that's very, very kind of you. Sometimes you just got to let them take their time and not rush them. And it's very, very easy to get carried away with what I was doing, say last week, and saying, oh, I've got to get this done. Not you guys telling me I've got to get it done, it's just me in my head saying, you know, I've got to get this done, I've got to get it sorted out in time. No, it takes as long as it takes. And I think that's what I did last week, just made it take as long as it takes. Can I make that a little bit of an abrupt ending there, as catching a little bit of light on that surface. I'll put up a little bit of dark up there in a minute, but we've got a lovely rock forming here, and I want to put a bit of dark, so I'm going to come in with a little. I'm using a rigger. I actually should upgrade the brush to something a little bit more stout for the job, but it's in my hand and my hand is going 10 to the dozen, so let's just not worry about the brush for the moment, and let's just crack on and get the shapes in there. I said I'm going to put a little bit of dark down there to give that the edge, and that will go against that nice bright orange there. And all of a sudden we've got several other rocks happening. This is quite dark in here, and we can bring a bit of dark into that part too. Let that run away into nothing, like that. And then that water can be going down between these two rocks, works quite nicely. Put a bit of cool in there, nice sharp edge there, and so yeah, that works. Nice dark end to this part. I think I ought to bring back that big brush for just a second or two. There's a take me forever otherwise. Nice cool colour against that light. Take that down, and we've got a big strong flat element to this rock running off over here. I can possibly refine that if I want to later, it's not a big deal. Okay, so we've pretty much got this area mapped in terms of rocks anyway. Lights can go on where needed. I'll put a little bit of light through here maybe. Take that up there. Just across the top, but just short of the very edge, so it looks, we've got that little dark edge to it, giving us that thing against the other water. Right, back to our water, and let's come in with some cooler blues and a little bit of orange once again. Take that down from the pure white, and let's just look at some of these areas here. And I think I'm going to put in a little bit of water that's cascading away from this point, like so, and meeting that part there maybe. That works. And catch one or two areas like so. So round, down, and that can run away. It's all given directional lines to lead up to this as well, which is all good news. Maybe a little bit of light in there and make that join there. So we're going to make that rock go underwater, because I've now put a foam trail that's coming around the edge of the rock like so. And we've got a nice bit of foam there, and you can just see the rock disappearing beyond it. This I might get a bit more dark in there in a minute. I keep looking at it, and we'll see what I feel further on. I'm going to bring the foam right up into here, and little twists, little areas here coming around this way, like so. And I'm going to put a couple of bluish ones in. I'm going to take some of that down, a little bit of the Ready Rose colour that I've been using, just to give me a bit of a shadowy colour in here, like so, and in here. Just wanted to put a little bit in there, and then come back out with the light like that. Now I will go so far with this, and I go with the flow. I watch these live sessions whenever I can. I'm also a patron. I'm in the US, so they all happen in the middle of my work day. Ah, yes, that's the only problems. But as I say, as a patron, guys, for my patrons, I'm trying to do as much as I can to help as much as I can moving forward. So if you have ideas or thoughts to that, then please don't hesitate to make contact with me and suggest something to me. Improvements only ever come through help and thoughts and questions and answers, all these things, ideas. They're all good, and I can't always latch on to one, but if I can, I certainly shall do. A little bit of water crashing down through here. Like so. Going to thicken that up there. I'm just going to make it a little less white, a little heavier in the colour, and let that come down through there and disappear down there. Okay. Good evening, Paul. Nice of you to join us, mate. Going to bring one or two lights down through here, crashing down, back down, and nice little foam pattern coming across just to set itself up as that goes down through that ravine, down there, and like so. Okay, a little bit of a swirl out through here. Let's just change the shape of that. Nice little swirl as it comes round. Picking up some of that one maybe. And let that rush away towards the rock again. I can't see how this is looking. I hope it's looking okay. I'm very, very close to it. Normally I'd sort of have it on an easel if I was working in my other studios and be able to stand away from it and gauge a better idea of what it's looking like. But hopefully it's doing what it wants to do. And yeah, a little bubble two there, just a few on their own. And let's bring one around this way, like so, just work it. And through here. I'm going to give that a little bit of a sort of wave up movement. And you can start creating the sense of dips and movements in waves like this. So that gives a little bit of a flow up and around. You're getting the sense that there's a little bit, especially with this reverse bit here, you know, you can sort of sense that that is going up and back out. I hope that's the idea. And give a little bit of movement to the water. And you can equally, where it's sort of coming down, you can come down a little bit so you get the flows happening that suggest that there is a dip at certain points. So you get that lovely sense of, do you like the sound effects? I'll do it again. I won't do it again. Promise. Break my promise. Okay, so see all this painting foam. It's getting to me. I'm sorry for as there are quite a few US patrons now. Could you maybe go back to doing Sunday evening again? Well, that's possible. I don't know how my everyone would like that. Yeah, I'm actually open to that. I mean, Jean, do you have an opinion about Sunday evening? Or is it just a bad day because, you know, you're working all week and you don't get too much time to do what you want to do at the weekend? I just got to find a time that's really good for so many of you and start using that. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of light just around the edge of this rock, just to help delineate that from the water itself. Let that run out. That's a good shout though, Wendy. It might well be useful to some. Let's see what comes back from people. And I bring that through there. One or two taps where it's just over the top of the rock. Just a little bit of light. Just around here. We're slowly coming over on it, and we're slowly sort of knocking it into shape. I know I've got to do a bit more over there. I'm not quite sure I'm going to reach all that yet. We'll see. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. If I stop sticking my wrist and fingers in the painting, would be really even more beneficial. All right. One or two very bright parts that are over here. Just want to increase a few more of those. That's sort of rolling back that way. And you can see that dip. And you can see that little rise again on this side. Just put a little bit of light there and suggest that it's sort of rolling again. And swirls, lovely swirly actions within the water itself. And the foam is being manipulated as to where the water is rocking and rolling as well, moving around the eddies in these areas of the rocks. And I'm going to put in, coming across some of them, like so, but I'm being a little bit less careful, sort of just a bit more random in there. I think that works. So it's very, very shallow over these rocks underwater. This is really, this one I think is the only one. Even this has had some water over it, but I'm not going to try and mark that about. I'm going to leave that as. I'm just going to sort of put in edges here of sort of water and movement across this one. Like so. And actually you can do lots of lovely things. You can, where water is catching light, you can actually bring little areas like this across tops of rocks where there's sort of, especially that colour here for instance, there's a little bit of sort of orangey colour. You can actually create a little bit of this sort of going on, a little bit tiger stripes where the light is refracting through the water and creating these beautiful senses of light. And even on here really, if you can get it going, little senses of light and dark. You could go in on this one, you could go a little darker if you wanted to. Let's get out of that before we put that everywhere else. Thanks Teresa, appreciate that a lot. Do you have a preference on what we've been speaking about for the patrons? You know, whether we do Thursday or a Friday, or that we go back to doing the Sunday, where it might assist some of our increasing number of American patrons that are coming on board, and we have quite a few now that are US based, and it might well be of benefit to them to have a Sunday evening one whereby they have no work, and although it's still 7 o'clock, it's still easier for some of them to get involved and watch it. But I will put it out as a question on the Patreon anyway during the course of the next few days, and to see what the general feeling really is with people. Okay, I didn't see that bit before, Teresa. So Sunday might work for you. Jean, would Sunday work for you if it was done? Jean, that's really sweet. Thank you so much. I didn't see that comment, and that's very kind of you to say that. But yeah, I just want to make everything as easily available to everybody I can, whether it's just people on YouTube or whether it's Patreon or whatever. It matters not. I just want to be able to sort of get to help as many people as I can. I know, I think the biggest thing with that for me personally, and I will talk about this in one of my YouTubes, because I want to sort of start discussing what motivates me as a painter, what I sort of, how I come to do certain things and why I've done what I've done over time. But I saw one of the things that have made me really conscious of wanting to help people. And as I say, I mean, if it comes down to finances, you know, it really, that hasn't, initially, certainly it hasn't. The more I do, the more it's becoming so, I've got to be honest with you. But certainly in the sort of earlier parts of this year and last year, I just wanted to reach out to more people, because I remember how 35 years ago, when I really wanted to become a full-time artist, there was none of this out there. There was no internet, YouTube, film videos and stuff. Heck, there wasn't even a DVD or a cassette video out there to help. There was a few books from well-intended instructors, and most of those had black and white pictures in. I'm not quite saying I'm that old, but you know what I mean. But I just know when I was learning, I would have loved to have had a teacher who, hopefully I know what I'm talking about after all these years, knows what they're talking about and would have helped me out. And so I'm very aware that I didn't have that luxury, and that's why I think I really am sort of keen to make as much of it as I can possible to help everybody else so that they're not in the same boat struggling with getting to grips with what they want to do moving forward. I hope that makes some sense, and that really, I think, is what triggers me and floats my boat and gets me going, is to be able to help people where I know I didn't get that help in my formative years as a painter. And everything that I've learnt, got to be said, is all self-taught. I didn't have and still haven't had the luxury of tutors in this day and age, and I have people that I follow and study, but that's not quite the same. There we are. I've talked myself through this. Hopefully that works. A few lines here and there just to suggest that the water is flowing over these. Give my vocal cords a rest for a few minutes. Oh. Right. Now I'm going to come in and I'm just going to pop some real good whites up in there. Some fresh mix, tap of that good old lemon. Don't make it too strong, it's a little strong, bit more fluid from the zested. And let's go back in. And I need my rest, which I've kicked somewhere. There we go, bear with me. Not a proper rest, but it will do for the tonight, and it does generally. So I'm just going to come back in with one or two little areas and taps of light through here, just to build this area up. Water rushing over. Like so. A few trails. Leave some of that grey colour, that fawny colour underneath. So just a few trails that give rise to water or darker water underneath that. And just a few more taps on here. Then I want to come in with one or two little shadow colours. Not many, I don't want to overdo it, just one or two. Let's tapping one or two there, make them crash off like so. Okay. Now I have an idea, guys, for a watercolor in next week's stream. I could do it as a film, but I just thought it might make a stream. I could do it as both actually, but not directly on the back of each other. But I felt that it would be nice as a watercolor to just sit here, maybe with one or two photos in front of me, but nothing on the screen, nothing blotting out the palette, as it were, that you normally get to enjoy and see what I'm doing, because I'm just sort of thinking that it would be nice maybe to do one based upon using up odd bits of paper. And the thought occurred to me this week because I was actually painting, well, I actually cut the paper, wasn't it, for the last watercolor stream on Friday, and it caused me to make a couple of errors in the size that I wanted, so I ended up messing up a couple of good sheets of paper. But when I looked at it, I thought, well, actually these are odd silly little sizes, some of them, but there's no point in throwing them away, so why don't I just sit down and create little paintings with them that you know, and showing you how you can actually do that. You can take an odd little bit of paper that may have been messed up in one of your paintings, and I've done those myself, and you know, just show you how you can turn a little bit of something like that into a very positive little and meaningful study. So I thought that I might sort of do that for an evening as a idea. I don't mind. Let me know what you think. I can do it as a film, or I can do it as an evening's dinner, and not just one. Just sit here and have a chat with you, and then just get on with doing several of these during the course of an hour and a half or something like that, or until you get fed up and want to go off, and just show you what I do and just use them up. Impromptu, just yeah, just little pictures, little scenes, some out of my head, something I might have on screen to one side. Just muck it about, change it a little bit, and see how it goes. Tell me what you think. Anyway, I don't mind. If you've got any other ideas, also don't hesitate to get in touch. Put it in the details underneath. Just let me know what your thoughts are. If you want me to do a certain subject, I can't promise I can do them all. I certainly build some in over time and try and do as many as I can. A bit more chop and water going on over here, which I just want to expand upon. Got a lovely picture like this I took down at the Warren in Folkestone. A whole series of them, because there are some lovely rocks there. And if any of you guys are local, I know some are, that you can get yourselves down to the Warren on a nice sunny day, then the rocks there are superb and will lend themselves to this sort of thing very, very well. And I might do another one of these videos in a few months' time and just sort of see how it goes and go from that. Just got to bring a bit more light into some of these. Made a fresher yellow, just a stronger white. And it's amazing how you can make something that was very white even whiter still. Look at that. Crashing down, little coming down into the water, bubbling again, little movements. And one or two up in here which have been missed, so let's just come back in. Slight more lemon into some of this, but you don't really notice it in this fashion. But what you do see is a much brighter white. Some of those foamy bits just starting to appear back up in this water run. Don't do too much to it, I don't want to lose it, but it is definitely a lot of sort of foam activity up in here, which I want to put in. Just looking around the back end of this again, I think we can have a little bit out through here as well now. Looking at this section, a little bit of tracery down through there, won't hurt. Don't do too much or you make it all samey, and that you don't want. That really would defeat the whole effect. A couple of little marks out there. I'm not sure if I want to put two strong ones out there. I don't really want to put any more out there. I think that was more than enough to do. You may look at them and they may look really bright out there, but you don't want that, because too much of it is just going to take it all from here, and that I don't want to do. I want to bring this a little more forward, coming down towards this. Here I've sort of created that little eddy going up, and I just want to bring this down as more evident. I'm going to bring some of the cooler colour in first, like so. Just make that bubble and splash and do bits and pieces. It's all part of this area in here, like that. Just, it's a little further forward in certain ways, and I want to put a little bit of green into the violet. This works very, very nicely in the shadows. A little bit lovely more sorry, a little bit more shady colours with this blue, this sort of turquoise, this lovely cobalt turquoise in some of these shadows. Just pops. And you can actually augment that with some lovely red and blue, making a nice lovely violet colour. And you can use the two very pastel shades, but they just work. Little taps suggesting the shadowy areas. Don't want to make anything too overworked, too obvious, but just a little bit just helps a lot. Just adds a bit of depth in there in certain places. Just makes it pop a bit more. A little bit through here, just darken one or two little areas, little pockets of darkness. I say darkness, it's hardly darkness, but it's just deepening of what we see. Alright, I'll get too carried away with that. Let's come back in with some light on top. So let's just bring a few taps of splashes through there just to break some of that up. And more so in here, which is the idea of just making that bubble over. And splashing down towards here. Soft edge. We're in the final little bits of this one. I don't know how long we've been going. Actually, I haven't seen Ben on here tonight either. Is Binary Ben around tonight? Just one or two taps up and through here. Little traces where water is joining up and flowing around, little natural shapes in the stone. These subtle little refinements just really bring it all together. And I think we're pretty much there. Good. That's exactly what I was thinking, Teresa. And that is probably what we will do for next Monday. A few taps in here, just little bits of water. Make it more of it than I had. Okay, one or two more. Look at some of the fall on here. Just want to put one or two light marks as this sort of, as pushing forward. This wave is sort of catching the light, pushing forward in one or two areas. Now I just want to check, do I need any more light areas? Just one or two, just catching a bit more light on the foam in one or two places, not much. Again, you can easily overdo it, there's no point in doing any of that, just subtly catching a little bit more sun on them. I could do some up in here, but this is, again, all through here is really just a support act, as much of this is. But this, if I make all of this if I make all of this as lively as this, then the eye will not settle. So this is my key area. This is secondary, and this is really supporting everything, which is quite apt because they're rocks and and they are supporting it all. Just a little bit of light in one or two places here, maybe, just to push it up a little bit. One or or two eddies, just to break up and create some nice sense of movement, like so. Okay. How are we for time? How long are we going? Hour and 26. So I think we will probably end up with this being all I do tonight. As much as I had the nice thought of doing a spontaneous little oil sunrise, that will probably take another hour, and we're going to be pushing too long time wise. I think people will start dropping away and getting bored. If not, and you want one, I will do one. Right. But I think pretty much we are. Put that round there, that way a little bit. Join there. Okay, just put a little line in there like so, and maybe another one just to suggest and reinforce that flow. Okay, I'm done. I think I'm done. I can look at this in the cold light of day and add to it. None of that is a problem. I'm just going to come down in here and put a little signature. Done. And yeah, that's good. Yes. Is that you, Binary Ben? All this time I didn't realise. No. Is it? Ben C. Are you Mr. Binary Ben C? Or are you another Ben that I am unfamiliar with? You got me wondering. Ah. Thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Luke. Well, I've enjoyed it, gotta say. There's just that lovely fresh wave action coming in Sennen. I loved it. I loved being there. And had we not been in lockdown, had things been different, I'd have probably been down there this September. Part of me still wants to go down there, especially down on the Roseland for the foul boats working their racing around. Ben, very, very subtly introduced yourself there. You've been on the side since the start. I thought you were somebody new. Nice one, chum. So here's, for your penance, here's a little job for you, sir. My AX53 camcorders, which are the ones taking all the pictures from above. Can you find out, because you're much better at this than I am, can you find out, sir, if I can have the focusing manual on it, or is it only autofocus? If I can have it manual, because I've been doing some flat lay pencil drawing, colored pencil drawing, and I've noticed that when you're working so carefully all at the same time in one area, that the autofocus is not, it's on my hands more than the thing, and I want to set it up just for the paper and nothing more, and then my hand will be slightly off, but at least I can have the image correct. I know if I open up the aperture I can get both, but it does create more problems possibly. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate that, mate. Thanks, John. Appreciate that too. Cheers, James. Appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, that was the idea, is to try and create the illusion of the rocks under the water, and I set that up last week. And the illusion was partly there. It's only because I created the surface material that you're absolutely convinced visually in your head that you are actually seeing rocks underwater. And that's part of it. I love that. William, well, thank you very much for joining us. And I've always got information out there to help people. So there's a lot of it about on my YouTube and other things. So by all means, take a look. And, you know, if you want to get involved, you're more than welcome to do so. Steve, good evening. And thank you again. Glad you enjoyed it. I will, yeah, I think it's been a bit of fun. I've loved it. I've enjoyed it. And it's not exactly the same as the photo, but does that really matter? It's as close as I need it to be. It says everything I want it to say. Glennis, good evening on that one. Great painting, really enjoyed this. Thank you, thank you. St. Helens Church, oh, hi. And this is also me. Oh, goodness, yeah, I should have recognised that, shouldn't I? All right, St. Helens. So now I can just strike the last 4 concurrent viewers off because they're all one person. Thanks, William. It's been a pleasure. And I've enjoyed this. Sean, thanks very much, mate. I just caught your comment up there. Wow, it's amazing. That's very kind of you. I'm glad you think so. That's cool. But yeah, it's what it is. So, for those of you who are still watching, the next stream will be Monday. So please, I will change everything that I'm putting out, saying it's every Monday, every Friday. It will just be every Monday. But please, all my patrons that tonight that are on, that's Teresa, Wendy, Judy, if you're sitting there quietly, Jean, if you would, all put comments to me on the Patreon community page, if you would. You know that's set up for you guys to not only interact with each other, but also interact with me to let me know what night would be best. And Wendy's made a good point that maybe Sunday evening would be fantastic for our American or my American patrons. So think on that, but please let me know. That'd be fantastic. So there's your job anyway, Mr. Binary, Ben St. Helens, and Ben C. You know what you're going to be doing tomorrow is a little bit of research for yours truly. If you don't mind, if you don't think I'm being too cheeky, that would be awesome. And in the meantime, people, I can't say have a good weekend because the weekend's gone. So have a great week, whatever you're doing. And if you're back at work, sad, but there you go. The WOD has got to continue going on. And yeah, Paul, what platform will you use Patreon soon? That's a very good question, Wendy. I would like to figure out if I can do it on YouTube. I'm used to YouTube as a platform for that. I could put out and do it on Zoom, but it means that everybody who's not tech savvy with Zoom needs to suddenly get up to speed with that. It's not hard, but it's just another platform to get involved with. But I can do it on Zoom, or I can do it on YouTube, I think. And I just need to figure out how I can make it a private invitation to just the patrons. And it will only be open to all my $5 tier and above. The $1 won't have access to these to that. It will just be for the $5 and above that. But we will do some research on that too, I think. Good night, James. Have a good one, mate, and stay safe. Have fun. Good night, Glennis. Thank you very much. Derek, good evening, mate. I'll see you next Monday. And there you go. Another evening over. I've enjoyed it. I'm glad to been able to finish this one off for you. When I look at it here, it looks very different to the way it looks on there. Not sure which I like best. I think it's because I'm too close to this one. But when I see it on the screen, I'm pointing there, but when it's on the screen, it looks in context, as it were. Bye-bye, Sean. Enjoy sunny Cornwall. Ben, good night, mate. Take care. Right, I'm going to have a bit of a clear up. I'm going to finish this glug. Clean some brushes. Good night, Keith. See you Wednesday for sure, absolutely. Steve, good evening. Oh, Southern California, mate. Yes, good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. You can get back to the rest of your day now, mate. John, take care, mate. Catch you next Monday, I hope. I know, for one, that you found it very difficult to catch me on a Friday anymore, so that's also part of the consideration. Making Monday is just so I can get to have you on the stream too, mate. And I expect a Red Cross parcel next week from you and Wendy. Right, that's the brushes, I think, pretty much all cleaned up. Where's the rigger? I can't find that. Okay, everybody, that's it. I'm going to switch it off now. So if you've said goodbyes, you said goodbyes. If you haven't, catch you all Monday. Stay safe. Happy painting. Have fun. Catch you all Monday night. Bye-bye. Yeah, I thought I might be asking a bit too much from either of you for a Red Cross parcel. Just a very cross parcel, according to John.